Hey y'all, my name is Mel, and this project is meaningful to me because it's a platform we created for women to freely express themselves and be the loud and proud, confident women that they're entitled to be.
Hey, I'm Vicky, and just like Mel, I've been in and witnessed too many situations where I felt prejudged and misunderstood, or even worse, was provoked and later on was labeled as crazy for loving myself enough to stand up for me.
Honestly, if I had $1 for each time I've been called crazy or too much, simply for standing up for myself or asking questions when things didn't add up, I'd be on an island I bought with that money right now. And I almost started to believe it, that it was me. But then I realized over time that my voice was my power. And through my story and through this podcast, I hope to inspire women from all walks of life to find their courage and speak up.
I'm beyond over being told to take it, and I wanted to be the voice for the ladies who aren't quite ready to roar just yet.
Women aren't to be placed in a box. We come from different backgrounds and have different journeys, and that's pretty much how we become ourselves and find our purpose. So a man has no place telling us how to be, neither does society. I really hope women listen to this podcast and feel heard and realize there's nothing wrong with a little crazy as long as it means you're freely expressing yourself.
This podcast will touch on all things woman. Let's get crazy. Hey, crazy bitches, what's good? So we're back again with the back again. So this week we're going to be talking about masculinity. Is it being exposed or is it under attack? So this topic, it's actually something that I've been kind of wanting to talk about because I feel like it's kind of been peeking its head through in the last like year or two, but like real low key. Um, and I, when we're talking about masculinity, we're talking about mainly in straight men. So not so much touching on, transgender issue or identification issues or, sexual orientation issues. It's really people are saying that masculinity in straight men is attack. And on the other hand, there are people who are saying, well, just because we're telling you to stop doing these toxic things doesn't necessarily mean we're attacking male masculinity. So that's pretty much what we're talking about this week. Melissa, how do you feel about this?
Hello. um, this is actually a topic that I really I wanted us to touch base on this for a while. It kind of circles around our whole, purpose and why we're doing this. So, um, I think it's funny, and I have a lot of these discussions with, alpha males all the time. I think
Mhm.
it's funny that people don't understand. It's the same thing as like Black Lives Matter and the people coming out and being like all lives matter. I don't. People don't understand that we're not saying there's anything wrong with men being quote men. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of things that will make a man and things that will make a woman. That's just
Mhm.
how it is. And as you say, we're not talking about someone just being born and feeling like they were born in the wrong body. We're talking about a man who is a man and likes to do things that, they feel men should be doing. Now,
Mhm.
within that, within all that, for example, me, I've always been a tomboy. I've always been into,
Mhm.
sports and things that are more for boys than things that are for girls. I didn't really get into makeup and girly things until my early 20s and late teens. Um, you know, I feel like for girls, we don't get as much of a a bad rap. It's just like, oh, she's a tomboy, she's a girly tomboy. But if a man even dares to either tap into his emotions, or which would be great if there was someone there to talk to these little boys instead of being like toughen up, boys don't cry, toughen up, there would be a different outcome for the men that are now present and that we have to deal with, because they're very toxic. They have had to hold in all their traumas and all their emotions just to keep up appearances with their peers or with their family members, siblings, or whoever it may be. It's like boys are supposed to be tough, boys are supposed to play sports, boys are supposed to be into this, and boys are supposed to be like that. Now, when you have a boy that has a little bit of an interest in fashion or makeup or anything like that, doesn't necessarily mean he's homosexual. Let's just say he's metrosexual and he's really into things that, women may like. the the problem is that by
Mhm.
stopping him from being himself, that's where all that toxicity comes. That's what we're saying not allowing men to just be who they are, aside from just a man, aside from just that label of like, you're a man, this is a list of things that you're supposed to be, like anything else is against the rules and something's wrong with you. If people would stop, you know what I mean, if we would start, like I always talk to my son about his feelings. He's naturally inclined to just hold them, and I always talk to him, what do you feel, how do you feel, talk about it. Like whatever you want to, like, you want to play with dolls, that's fine, I don't care. I'm not going to tell you that's not for you. If you grow out of it, you grow out of it. If you don't, you don't. You're still my child regardless. So what we're saying about masculinity being toxic is more so the enforcement that men have to be a certain kind of way, and they have to suppress a lot of things that, you know what I mean, may make them the person that they are today. And then now they're grown up and they're toxic and they don't know how to communicate. They're angry. They're fucking like, I mean, like the list goes on. I'm just saying, let's change let's break this generational curse for the next generation of young men growing up. So,
Mhm. Even with men in the LGBT uh, community, I have, as you know, several gay friends and people that are like considered family members to me. And in speaking to them, I've realized that male toxicity is not just it's not just something that affects straight men, it's something that affects gay men as well, because
Mm,
there are, different people have this misconception that gay men are just solely flamboyant, or they're
mhm.
all a certain way, or they all act a certain way, or dress a certain way, or speak a certain way. And that's not the case. They're not all into the same things. They don't all like, they're not all, let's just say, obviously gay. Some
Mhm.
gay men you really cannot tell that they're gay based on how they speak or how they dress or how they carry themselves. You would never know unless they were to tell you that they are gay. And
Right.
so that alone tells you that there's so many different kind of people, whether it's gay or straight, in the world, that male toxicity, it also affects gay men, because in that community there are men who are very alpha, there are men who are very dominant, and who, they
Right.
take the dominant position in the relationship. So for me, it's like, it's not necessarily an attack on masculinity of a straight man. It's letting men in general know that, first of all, it's okay to heal. It's okay to feel your emotions and to act accordingly and not like a raging psychopath. And it's okay to express yourself and to let it be known when you're having a real raw emotion, and not through this macho, like, misogynistic, bully, like, almost vengeful type of clapback that I'm seeing nowadays. Like,
Mm.
I feel like a lot of these, and it's also, I feel like, unfortunate that this is also a topic where we're seeing a lot of women say, oh, there is a problem with the laws of masculinity, and it is an attack. And they're saying that toxic the idea of toxic masculinity is coming from women who are bitter and who are scorned and who are unhealed. And
Girl, bye.
it's is
It's
it,
like,
is it possible? Absolutely, but those are not invalid realities. Those are people who have been through the experience and who have been through the raft of toxic masculinity. And it's like,
pretty much.
for me, I feel like a woman who's going to sit here and say, or anybody really, who's going to sit here and say that it's not real and it's made up and it's another female myth. It's just, to me, it's like, this is you expressing your own fears
It's
of your own features. This is you expressing that you don't ever want to walk in and see your little boy in a dress and have to deal with that reality. This is you
mhm,
expressing how you feel about your own personal situation.
right.
You know what I'm saying? And I don't necessarily know who has kids from who doesn't have kids, but I know that when you're loud and proud about a topic that really doesn't really have anything to do with you, you're scared about something, and it's not necessarily the masculinity of all men, because that's not your business. So to me, it's like, if there's something that's a little closer to home that you're worried about, focus on that. Stop focusing on whether or not there are straight men wearing dresses or not. That's their business. If I cannot stress this enough, if I want to wake up tomorrow morning and dress like Big Bird and go down to the dollar store and grab me a couple things, as long as I got my corona mask, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that?
Facts.
The same way, like
Facts.
you said,
Mind your business.
like
Hmm.
like yeah, and as a tomboy myself, I didn't start getting into dresses and skirts. I mean, I've always had to wear them for church and stuff like that, but I wasn't like a willing participant until later on in my
Same
in my
here.
in my teen years. So it's kind of like, and nobody ever said anything to me for it. Nobody ever gave a shit. Like, no one cared. If
Mm.
anything, women are championed to cover up our bodies and to wear boys' clothes and to, we're championed to do that. Whereas if a man decides that he wants to wear something different and out of the box, he can't do that. And just exactly what we're talking about. Recently, I'm sure if you have internet, you've heard that Harry Styles did a magazine shoot. Was it for Vogue? I think it was for Vogue, right?
It was Vogue or L. Was it Vogue?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Vogue.
Okay. So he did a spread for Vogue recently where he had several garments that were they had the silhouettes of female dresses, and they had I
Haute
saw one
couture.
picture where he had on, like, I think he had on like a male suit. Yeah, it was haute couture, but it was like he had on like a male suit, but on top of it, he had on like the shell of like a beautiful ball gown. I don't know, it was cute to me. I
He
thought it was
still looked
different and
like
it
a
was
man to
interesting, and it
me.
kind
Like
of,
it's like if Ryan Gosling or
yeah,
like did it, like you know what I mean? And it was very fashion to me. It wasn't, if you don't know
not
fashion, you
only
don't need
that,
to be
it
in
kind
Vogue.
of, when I thank you for one, and for two, when I saw it, before I even heard about this controversy, when I saw it, I was like, I could see Harry Styles doing this. I had zero reaction. I was like, this is pretty cool.
Right?
This
He's
is
kind of like indigenous and like he
this
has
is
kind of like the look for
his
it,
thing. This is his thing. Like, just a
you
regular
know?
Tuesday with Harry Styles. That's how
I
it
f-
looks like.
it's like
And
it's
it's
like if Mick Jagger did it too. Like, you know what I mean? I could kind of
oh,
see, I could kind of see like a rock star doing that.
yes,
Like a
I
lot
like
of like the
Prince.
80s, 70s rock star wore makeup and you know what I mean? Like they had long hair and they were kind of feminine themselves in a sense.
Yeah,
So
like, there was that. I mean, come on, we just lost a great, not too long ago. Prince was like the king of androgyny. He, to
yeah.
me, was like, I feel like, even though I knew exactly who Prince was and what he did and that he was a man, sometimes I would see him and be like, he's just prettier than some women I
I
know
said
in real life. Like, he's just so
indigenous,
gorgeous.
androgynous.
Androgynous.
I just corrected myself.
And the thing is, I feel like I heard you say it, but I understood what you meant, so my
No, but
brain
even for
didn't
me, I
take
was like,
to
"Ooh,
like,
this wine is getting
but
there."
whatever.
But yeah, no
Y'all know what we
correction.
mean. So this,
God,
no, but yes, I
shit.
feel like when I saw it, I was just like, hello. I and it and in not in the in any kind of like how you doing kind of way, just really like, oh, I see that you are doing other things outside of the box. And it's like,
It was
I
fashion,
just don't understand what people don't understand. Like, artists are artists. No matter what kind of art you do, you're always gonna be an artist. So you're gonna love art in different forms. It does music. Music is an art. Dancers, singers, songwriters, rappers, those are artists. So yes, they just
Mhm.
because they're in a form of art that is musical doesn't make them any less artists. Then it's just kind of like they're allowed to express that in other forms. And it's not your business what they do, Candace Owens. It's not their business
Mm.
what they wear. It's not their, and like, okay, we're gonna get deeper into this, but before we do, I just want to say, for a person who only has about two hairstyles and three edge strands left, she is very concerned with what other people are doing with their own self and their own.
It's the hair for me.
Like, I just don't understand. Like, whose kitchen are you in still getting your hair hot pressed to death like that, ma'am? Have you not heard
It's
stories?
like you're on TV. I mean, like it's not that expensive to get a silk press. Like I'm not trying to talk, shit about somebody's image, but I'm just saying she's talking shit
It's a
about every other thing.
$1,000
She could get a
for
kid relaxer for
to
about
to
$5.99 at the
stuff
beauty
and
supply
put a
store.
blowout.
Something. A texturizer. Something. But all in that, I guess we'll play a clip of, what exactly it is that Miss Owens here had to say in regards to to toxic masculinity, her little opinion that she had on that. I remember her also saying like, bring back real man. And I'm just like, what is a
Ah,
real man?
can I just say that
Like, mm-hmm.
I don't know. My fiance is not like, he's not always the most sensitive, but he can be. And it's just kind of like, I don't like, for me personally, I just feel like I don't see the problem. Like, I really don't see the problem because the sensitive side, he's not like a super sensitive guy, but there is
Yeah.
sensitivity in him. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
the sensitive side of him allows him to see the woman in me and see when I need him to be a little bit softer and when I need him to talk to me in a different tone and when I need him to understand where I'm coming from. And that's not every time. There are times where he's more of a man than he wants to be sensitive right now, but that passes because he has an understanding of how my emotions work and how I work. And for me, I feel like teaching a man to not have emotions and to not react to anything where a reaction is normal and perfectly
Yeah.
valid is teaching men not to understand his emotions and thus not giving a fuck about anybody else's emotions. That's why we have
Yeah.
all these grown men out here. And the thing about it is that men and women always say that the other party is complicated when the reality is that we communicate differently. And all it takes is for us to understand that we communicate differently. So I can't expect for a man to communicate with me the way I'm going to communicate with him. I just have to
Yeah.
understand the way in which he communicates. But if I
Mm-hmm.
can do that, why can't you do that? Because you're not in touch with your emotions. And women, a lot of us communicate through our emotions and
We do.
we move through our emotions and we make decisions based on our emotions now and how our emotions have been affected in the past.
We
So
do.
for me, it's like if I can understand you, great. But if you can't understand your own emotions, you're damn sure not going to understand mine. And you're never going to understand where I'm going and how I'm feeling about a certain topic. And when I get deep in my emotions and I'm feeling deeply about something, you're not going to understand the level to which I feel. So it's like, not even understand, but you won't even be able to sympathize with it. So it's like, of course, we're going to argue and butt heads because in your mind, oh, get over it. It's not that deep. You're in your feelings over
Mm-hmm.
what? And in my mind, I'm like, you are, something's wrong with you. Women always say that something's wrong with men. What's wrong with them is that they're not allowed, they've never been allowed to be in tune with their emotions. So when
Yeah.
they feel something, it's like the end of the world. Everything must die.
Oh
There's
yeah.
no, you know what I'm saying? There's no
Zero
hope
to
for
a
some.
hundred.
But
Zero
anyway,
to a hundred.
we're
Zero.
gonna just
Bring. They're just like burn the bridge. They have the gasoline in the back of their trunk, in the trunk, ready to set the whole motherfucker on fire. Like, damn, what
and
the
then
hell?
it doesn't help that there's women who are condoning this. You know, if you are have been lucky enough to not have to deal with what it feels like to have been in, been a victim of of toxic masculinity, then great. But stop trying to act
But if
like
you're not smart enough to realize when it's fucking happening to you,
Exactly. But stop trying to act like other people who are complaining about it don't have a valid reason to complain about it. Like, stop trying to tie in an artist wanting to wear a dress on the cover of a high couture magazine with the loss of male masculinity. Stop trying to give yourselves valid excuses to shit on other people's struggle or complaints. It just doesn't make sense to me that you would allow yourself as an individual, or if I'm sure your own struggles and I'm sure your own problems, especially a person like Candace Owens, like just because she would probably like to think differently doesn't change the fact that this is a black woman, a dark-skinned black woman at that. And at the end of the day, you can't tell me that not once in your life you haven't suffered not one form of discrimination ever. You're black and you're a woman and you're in America. So you're not going to tell me that you lived your entire life, unless you lived in a bubble in your house forever, that you've never experienced any kind of discrimination, no matter what it was. No matter what it was, because we all know what it is. She's right. She's in a field where it's mostly white people. It's mostly white people at her job. So I know that somebody then gave her the cut eye walking down the
She's just a
hall.
fucking idiot
You know what I'm
in
saying?
denial. There's no
So
way
exactly.
because
So it's
yeah,
like, for me, it's like, and
she's a fucking
girlfriend, and
sellout piece of shit. That's what she
that's
is.
what I'm saying. And it's like, for me, it's also at the part where I don't understand. It's like, of course, these white people love you because you're the one token girl who they can say, look, this black girl agrees. This black girl is on our side. This black girl is doing it right. So why can't we feel this way? You are giving them the opportunity as a black woman to say, oh, this black girl is okay with it, and thus making it seem like we're okay with shit that's not okay. Anyways, before we overtalk ourselves, there is a clip that we want to have play, which is basically the clip of what she said about the Harry Style situation.
Virtually everything that comes out of Hollywood is about destroying values and weakening our society. So whether that's baby mama culture, women taking their clothes off, feminism, right? I don't need a man, all of the stuff that you're seeing, and now men in dresses in Vogue. If you don't realize by now that Hollywood is satanic and you should not be idolizing those people, I can't help you.
I agree with everything you said, especially just because it's like, as a black woman, we get told a lot of times, just to wrap up my thought, we get told that a lot of our feelings are not valid. And we have found the solution, perhaps not for us, because for a lot of these men, it's too late. Unless they agree to go to therapy, it's too late. They are who they are. Either life is going to smack them across the face and they're going to be like, oh, okay, I need to make a change. Or they're going to grow up and be like, okay, eventually, after fucking up so many things and so many relationships and being alone at 45, perhaps something is wrong with me. You know what I mean? But for the next generation of girls, I have a daughter and I have a son. And you know what I mean? Vicky is looking forward to being a mother one day as well. And so I'm just saying, for the next generation, can we just, you know what I mean? Can we just fix this? Can we let our sons know that they need to, like my son likes to communicate with anger and silence. That's it. Violence, anger, silence. I'm trying to get him to express himself, as uncomfortable as it seems to be making him. I'm trying to let him, it's okay to feel. It's okay to say, I didn't like this. I don't like that. This is how this made me feel. And progressively, he's starting to do so. And hopefully by the time he becomes a grown man, he can be like, hey, Jessica, whoever the hell it is that he's dating, let's have a sit down and communicate about our issues, and let me take accountability for what it is that, you know what I mean. That's what it is. That's just what we want. we're just trying to, we want men to heal, because everyone deserves that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We just want men to heal and to know that it's okay to feel, and it's okay to tap into what emotions are not just for women. Emotions are for human beings, and that includes men and women. So we don't want it to just be pinned as like, oh, emotions is just for women, and men, you guys are robots. That's not the case. So that's basically what my last thought is as far as this topic.
Yes. I definitely agree with everything you just said. I feel like I mean I've been around Melissa and her kids since her son was 1 and her daughter was 3. And I've always told you that the main thing I adore about your parenting is that you leave room within your discipline to acknowledge your kids' feelings. And I think that's something that,
Oh,
especially being kids of like who are like first generation kids of cultured parents, sometimes you don't always get that. You get the
mm-hmm.
punishment, you get the recommendation, but you don't get, the you don't get the caring of how you feel. So
Right.
I feel like you're definitely doing it right, and I do feel like he's gonna grow up and be perfectly fine with telling the bitch about herself in the most constructive and healthy, non-damaging way.
Thank you,
And
girl.
vice
I
versa. I
appreciate
mean,
that.
Sky's already started giving people some constructive criticism of
Mm.
her own.
Even to
So
me,
I feel like,
unsolicited.
yeah, I feel like they're definitely picking up the ball. But
I'd
yeah,
be like, damn.
there's so much to come in the new year. We're so excited. Mel and I will be reunited soon for a little bit. So we're gonna have,
I'm so excited.
we're so excited. If we like this, we are in a bromance,
Yeah.
guys. So this is my bro. I love her to death. I can't wait to see you. So when I get out there, we're definitely gonna be working on some things for the show and the podcast. I'm putting myself through another round of Chloe thing workout. So I'm gonna try to film as much as I can for the IG
Oh,
page for you
that's
guys so you can
awesome.
laugh at my nonsense and then be mad at my progress. But anyways, we have less than a minute. So you can catch our show on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube, on Tickety Talk. You can find us on IG. Please DM us on IG questions, feedback, stories, whatever. If you hate it, if you like it, if you want to pray for us, please drop in the DM on IG at Crazy Bitch Factory Inc. What else? We have our playlists that are updated. We try to update it on Mondays, but life hits, and sometimes it's not Mondays. But we have the playlist on Spotify. My picks, Mel picks, and Kirk's picks. Am I missing something?
No,
And
girl, you're doing good.
SoundCloud um SoundCloud and a bunch of other things that I forgot, but we'll put them all in our bio and in our posts on IG. That's it. We'll see you again whenever it is that we see you again. Love you.
Love
Bye.
y'all.